everyone, welcome once again to Arrow Discussions. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
Today we're talking about the mid-season finale, Three Ghosts, the episode that Eric thought would be entirely in Oliver Queen's head. Boy, were you wrong!
Yeah, well, with a title like Three Ghosts, I thought it was going to be like a Christmas Carol type thing.
Well, and what's cool is...
It kind of is.
Was, and they did it in a really subtle way, and I'm glad they didn't go straight Scrooge or anything. But we'll get into the ways in which they did that. But because you had me convinced that might be the direction they would go with this, I gotta say I spent the first 5 minutes really thinking that maybe nothing we were seeing was real.
My first note that I have was, wow, that was fast, because he pulls out of it within like the first 2 minutes of the episode.
Yeah, wow, rat poison can do anything. That stuff's amazing. But no, I was really suspicious of what was real and what wasn't at the beginning, and when he pulls out, I was like, nah, we're totally in his head, because he sees Shadow, and then they cut to the regular credit, and then he wakes up, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be like a Lexmas thing, from Smallville, where we're gonna think for a minute we're in reality, and then we're not. Well, actually, I guess that's not exactly how that episode played, but we're the whole thing we're not in reality, we're in his head, and then they started actually cutting to other characters, and I went, oh, maybe this isn't all in his head. And then when I realized how important the episode was, I was like, wow, this thing is fantastic. This is, I think, the best episode of the series.
I agree. I think this is the best episode thus far. Yeah, definitely.
Another thing that you said that I really thought you were right about was that Barry wasn't going to be that important in this episode. Also not true.
Yeah, no, he's in this a lot, and he plays into it a lot.
My big reservation from the end of last episode still stands, I think, which is they knocked him out for the sake of a dramatic scene at the end, and that was it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, there was no good reason for that, right? I mean, because the only thing I could think of is they didn't want to have to worry about having a conversation with him before they brought him in because they were in a hurry. But then there's the whole, okay, but we're going to sit around and wait for him to wake up thing.
I would have loved if there was a scene where they knocked him out again and then took him somewhere else. We want him to find the place.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can tell 15 minutes in, well, now he knows where it is and he can go to and from it.
Yep.
So that wasn't it. So anyway, that's not a problem with this episode, but I still think that's a little goofy the way they handled that.
Yeah, it was dramatic license. I'm pretty sure that's in fact what that term was invented for.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what that was. I like that. I'm gonna go starting linearly here. I like how, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I think it was. How the whole situation with Oliver waking up and the whole rat poison thing is similar to the way Slade almost died and got the super soldier serum. With how Barry says he'll die if I don't do this.
I hadn't even thought of that, but yeah, you're totally right.
It's exactly the same thing because Felicity says, well, that's going to kill him, and that was the same scenario with Slade. Don't give him that injection. That's going to kill him. Well, he's going to die. He's going to die anyway. That was cool.
Yep.
Well, let's jump back and forth. What notes do you have, Eric?
Let's see. I have. Okay, this is kind of a minor note, but when they go to Laurel and they're talking about the friend that they're looking for, what's her name? I want to call her Alice. She's not Alice. The chick that works with Black and Eric.
Sin.
Sin. When they go looking for Sin's friend, they say. He donated blood at this blood drive. They wouldn't have accepted his blood if he was doing drugs. I don't know if you've ever been to a blood drive, but they're like, "Hey, do you do drugs?" And you say no.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They just have a little paper, and they're just like, "Hey, have you done drugs in the past 6 months? No. Have you had intercourse with a male? No. Have you done had unprotected sex or something? They ask these questions. You don't have to answer truthfully. Like, that doesn't determine anything about whether or not he was actually doing drugs. So,
That's a good point.
yeah, just a minor note. I mean, it's a TV thing, but the fact that she was like, this proves he didn't overdose.
Are you not digging Roy a little bit more every episode?
I don't know if I'm not digging him as much as I'm feeling like he's kind of becoming like Diggle, or like I don't know why he's here.
Ooh, I didn't have that with this one at all, especially because he gets to stumble upon the same case that Oliver's working on. He gets kidnapped by Brother Blood, and importantly, this time it's a kidnapping I actually bought happening.
Well, I did I
Because
don't
remember last season there's that whole thing where he gets kidnapped and we were like, yeah, that's really implausible and convenient. And
yeah.
and here I totally bought it and liked that he was encroaching upon Oliver's territory, and that, Oliver shoots him trying to slow him down and keep him out of this, and he still gets into this kind of trouble. And then he gets injected with the serum, and we don't know yet how that's going to play out. No, I feel like they're doing plenty with that guy.
I guess you're right. I don't know. He just kind of feels like not important. I don't know.
I mean, I'm still with you with Diggle. In fact, I felt like everybody in this episode got great things to do.
Except for
And
Diggle.
Diggle was kind of there so that Oliver could say, "Hey, you've been in wars. Isn't this a lot like war?" And Diggle's like, "Yep." And that's what he does.
No,
in this
no,
episode.
no. It was they're building an army. What for?
Yeah, what's that
You
for?
you were in the army. What did you do? War.
Man, I'm sure glad Diggle was there to tell us what armies are for, because
I would have been confused.
I'm I'm just kidding. I'm not saying I didn't like that scene. I
Oh
liked how
no, it
that
was a good scene.
it was a good scene. We're just kind of laughing at the fact that, yeah, Diggle's not really doing a lot right now. He's muscle, and that's
But
where he's
he's
at right.
not muscle because Ollie's the one that does all the physical stuff.
Well, that's, yeah, I guess it's true. I mean, but he did go with him
I
and
mean,
fight with
he's imposing.
him. Yeah, that's true. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I really liked the stuff with Roy here, and I also really liked, because I didn't expect this. In the first 5 minutes of this, Oliver immediately has to face the fact that he shot this kid.
I loved how he walked in. He's like, "What happened to him?"
And then he tries to give an excuse for why the arrow would do that. He's like, well, maybe
Maybe he was
he
trying to
was just
protect you.
trying to protect
Maybe you
you, and
shouldn't be so judgmental.
that doesn't make sense. And you're like, why are you taking up for that guy? Yeah, that was fun. And I feel like, again, this is the way in which this is vaguely Scrooge-ish, right? Because first of all, we have a guy who acts a little bit, like I said, in a vague kind of way, like Ebenezer Scrooge, in that he takes things for granted and he's not appreciating what he has. I mean, like, he wakes up from what should have been a long coma or possibly death, and he has no appreciation whatsoever for Barry Allen. And then he goes in and has to face the fact that he just shot this person. There's these little places here and there where it feels a little bit like he's having to kind of meet his past, or meet these things he's doing in the present, or think about his future, right? And he's not having to do it in a supernatural way through actual ghosts, but he continually has to face these things at head first at face value. Like I said, I really dug how they managed to do that in kind of a subtle way.
Oh yeah. I didn't even make a lot of the comparisons to Scrooge that you just pointed out. So
Well, and especially with the actual ghosts, because when you, like you said before, when you have, right around Christmas time, and by the way, I love that Christmas doesn't even play into this.
yeah,
That's fantastic. We're gonna do this at this time of year. It's gonna be like, sort of cold, but otherwise it's not really about. Well, you know what? There is mention of Christmas though.
well, there's
Come to
mention
think,
that they're not having the Christmas party
they're not
this
going to have the
year,
Christmas
and
party, but it's not a Christmas episode,
yeah.
and I really liked that about it, because we're able to do these sorts of things in a really thoughtful, a more subtle way. And so with the three ghosts, they are kind of, in a way, the ghosts of past, present, and future, which is really
Uh,
cool.
yeah.
Because in a way, and they flip it a little bit. Shadow is definitely the ghost of Christmas past.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, Slade is the ghost of Christmas present, but he acts more like the ghost of Christmas future. The reason I say he's the ghost of Christmas present, or I shouldn't say Christmas, but Oliver's present,
Right.
is because we will discover at the end that actual Slade is around and is going to be Oliver's present.
Right.
So that's cool. But he's the ghost of his. He acts like the ghost of Christmas future in that he points out all of the reasons that Oliver might be doomed.
Right.
And so he acts like that. But then you get Tommy, who is the actual ghost of Christmas or ghost of the future, because he sets Oliver on the path that he needs to walk. And they did that in a really positive and optimistic kind of way. I dug that.
Okay, I have a question though.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're hallucinating, do
I
you,
dug it thematically. Yeah,
do
we
your
can talk.
hallucinations usually tell you completely contradictory information? Because usually, at least how it's used narratively, is that when you hallucinate, you get to like tap into what you really think of yourself type of thing. And we have two different ghosts telling Oliver that he's a murderer, he's a killer, he's the reason all these people die, he's not a hero. And then within this like an hour later, a different ghost that's also supposed to be part of Oliver's psyche is telling him, "You're a hero. You're going to save everybody." And those feel contradictory given that they're supposed to all be from his psyche.
Yeah, that's a good point. But your psyche does have a tendency to kind of argue with itself a bit, especially when you're as conflicted as somebody like Oliver would be, because these aren't just like representations of feelings he has. They're also in the guise of people that are saying the things that these people, or that would say the things that these people are saying. What I really dug about it was that the stuff that Slade says is the stuff that real Slade would say.
Yeah, well,
And if Tommy could come back from the dead, I think he would likely say the stuff that he says.
and one of the things I really dug is I wasn't expecting Tommy. I was
No,
expecting somebody else from the island.
so was I. Yeah, I was a little bit
And
surprised by that.
man, he just showed up and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sad you're dead."
It was really great to see the actor again, though, and he tore it up. He was
Yeah,
great.
he was there for like 2 minutes and he just brought it.
But no, I do want to examine what you're talking about for a minute, though, and I don't want to dismiss it because you do have a point. Because Diggle says you need to find out what your ghosts are telling you, and you're right. They're telling him different things, but it kind of, I don't know, it sort of leads to a place. I feel like the first two are telling him things that he keeps saying to himself to kind of bring himself down, and it's like Tommy is putting it not just in a more positive light but also a somewhat more realistic light, because Slade has this very kind of like broad one-sided viewpoint where it's like, everything you touch turns to ash, and but more than that, you were weak. The island didn't make you strong, it just showed how weak you were.
Right.
And then Tommy is actually putting things within a context and says, well, you actually tried to save me and you did everything you could.
And you
So
survived the island.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, they're saying contradictory things, and they're arguing with each other. And conveniently, the last one that shows up tells Oliver the thing he needs to hear right
Yeah,
away.
how much would it have sucked if they'd been out of order and like
Yeah, he
Slade
was.
showed up at that moment.
If you think about it, the Ghost and the Scrooge story do somewhat of the same thing, except in reverse. Because you have the, well, actually, I mean, I guess not exactly. They're kind of, no, I'm wrong. They're kind of just saying,
They're all
here's
saying you're awful and you need to change.
yeah, here's what you did, here's what you're doing now, and here's what it will bring you to if you don't change. Yeah, you're right.
Um, but to get off some of that stuff for a little bit,
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
although I guess we should mention, The fact that he's hallucinating for no reason is weird. Just
Yeah,
before we get
I
off his
didn't
hallucinations.
I didn't care for that just because it felt like kind of a silly TV thing, and they had a great out. Maybe not a great
They
out
set it
because
up and then say, no, that's not what it is.
I don't know if rat poison actually gives you hallucinations. I should look this up.
But I wouldn't even think about it if they were just like, yeah, it's the rat poison that's making you hallucinate. Although I do love that Barry's like, it gives you hallucinations and it makes you sweat. Are you sweating?
Are you sweating? Are you sweating right now? Yeah, and he was all the levity in this episode.
Oh yeah.
And not in a goofy, silly Jar Jar Binks way. Like everything he says is hilarious and within like the context of this and not breaking the the tone. But but to go back to what you're talking about, yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, because it's weird that the first thing he says is, "Oh man, hallucinations," and then he does the test and he's like, well, it's not that at all, and you just have a psychological issue. I have a really hard
Which
time buying.
resolves itself.
Yeah, I have a really hard time buying that he would wake up from this thing, conveniently start getting hallucinations that have apparently nothing to do with the thing that put him in that coma in the first place, and then he's never had this condition before, and he probably will never have it again.
Now I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on television. But I don't think psychological issues resolve themselves. I think that's usually something that you don't want to just leave to itself.
Not if they're that
Not if
extreme.
they can beat you up and toss you through tables.
Yeah, and so yeah, I don't know. I feel like they just kind of went back on something I would never have even questioned.
Yeah, it's a thematic thing. It's dramatic license. I like what they do with it.
I love what they did with it, but I also feel like it could have easily not been dramatic license, right? Like they could have
Yeah,
easily just left it what it was, and nobody would have really questioned it. I don't think.
yeah. It's weird.
I One thing I was very impressed with once I got to the end of the episode was that I had to watch it again to make sure that it wasn't real Slade in the Arrow Cave.
I didn't even
Did you
think
get
of that.
this?
No,
Because when we get to the end, we
because real
know that
Slade has no
actually
eye.
Slade is there and he has no eye. Now, the big reveal in that scene is not that it's Slade, because if you're paying attention and you've been watching the show, not just if you talk about it for an hour with a friend of yours and post it on YouTube, but if you're but even just just a casual viewer, I think is going to immediately know that Slade just listening to his accent.
Actually, can I say something about that?
Yeah,
When we first see his hands, they look they looked like black, and so I had a split second where I was like, did they make Ra's al Ghul black? And did they somehow cast it and nobody knew and there was no controversy? And then like the second line he had, I'm like, oh, it's Slade. But there was something about the way his hands were, where they looked. I don't know if it was how they were lit or if they were dirty, but it looked like his hands were black, and I thought that he was Ra's al Ghul for a second.
yeah, I didn't get that. The moment he starts talking, it doesn't help that we have already seen him in this episode, so his voice is in my
Well,
head.
he's putting on a little
It's
bit different of a voice.
I don't know. I don't think he did at
Oh, you
all.
don't?
I
I
think
thought
that,
he was changing
no,
his voice just a little.
maybe slightly deeper, just because maybe he's gonna play this part a little bit different
I
now
think
that
it's a
he.
little more like weathered sounding.
But it's still the same accent. We don't have anybody else with an Australian accent in the show.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he has an Australian accent. Sometimes
I think he's an
I
Australian, so I think that would make sense.
but anyway, the point I was gonna make is I don't think because I'm not complaining about the fact that they shot it the way they did. I think they want you to think that they're trying to be clever to make you wonder if it's Slade, and then you're watching it and going, well, obviously it's Slade, and then the big reveal is he doesn't have an eye.
Right.
I think that's the big reveal. And what's neat about that, I think, is that it confirms something we knew already. Because one of the first images we get in the first episode of the show is a Deathstroke mask with an arrow through an eye, which we had no idea what exactly the relevance of that was going to be, and we're finding that these people making the show either had tremendous forethought or they're doing a really good job filling in blanks they hadn't decided to do yet, kind of like we know Vince Gilligan did quite a bit on Breaking Bad, because you're watching this and his big plan is he wants to get back at Oliver by destroying his life and affecting him emotionally, and then the last thing he's going to do is stab him in the eye. Oliver Queen shot his eye out.
Right. Oh yeah,
I
no,
just think
absolutely.
that's fantastic. Like I never would have thought that that's where they were going with that.
Although I will say a little bit, I thought that statement came off a little anticlimactic, where he was like, "I'm going to take everything away from him, and I'm not going to kill him. I'm just going to stab him in the eye and walk away."
But that's what I liked about it because it revealed something that we didn't know yet.
Yeah, yeah,
Because you think he's going to say stabbed him in the heart, but then he says I.
yeah.
And one of the reasons I also really like that is because, boy, they're revealing so much more, so much faster than I thought they would.
I have a slight problem with this, and
We'll,
it's
we'll get. Sorry,
okay.
go ahead.
No, go finish.
Yeah, we'll get there because I have some questions about that too because I'm wondering about like how much longer we can even do island
Yep,
stuff.
that's exactly what it was. It feels like everything about the island, everything that we've found out about the island or they've set up, I feel like everything we've covered at this point now. Like we're not at the end point yet, but we can't have much longer, right?
Well, I also feel the need to give them the benefit of the doubt because I thought that before.
Well, but with this time specific, it's not just like, well, where could they go? I feel like everything that they've set up and dropped hints about is done. So like,
So far, but the nice thing is we don't there's a couple things we don't know. We know there's another like 3 years on the island.
right.
So the big things we don't know is like if he spends all that time on the island or if he goes other places and comes back, because I mean we know he's been off island once. He could
Well,
go
and
off.
we know at some point he has to get those tattoos.
Yeah, and we also don't know exactly when he thinks Slade gets killed. And that could happen way later.
I got the impression that it's going to happen I think by the end of this season, Sarah's going to be gone, and we're going to think Slade is dead. Maybe not.
I
Maybe
think
Slade sticks.
you're likely right. Well, yeah, Oliver's gonna think he's dead. One of the things I really like about this is that they haven't told us everything, and I mean like well really there's one big thing they haven't told us, which is how Oliver thinks that Slade dies, and I just like that because we're seeing things pay off for stuff we haven't gotten to see yet, and I think that's really clever. And also they've given me lots of reasons to buy that they'll do it in interesting ways because they've already done this some before. And they just keep doing a really good job of planting stuff. Like earlier in the season we've talked about this before when Sarah asks him where Slade is. So we know when he seems to die at the beginning of this, if we've been paying attention, that's not the time that Oliver thinks he died.
Right.
But if you didn't see that episode or you weren't thinking about it, you might be surprised when you see Slade again.
Yeah, we know
So I
that Sarah has to leave before Slade dies, or presumably dies.
presumably seems to die. Here's the other thing real quick I wanted to mention about the whole thing with the Slade ghost. When we see uh when we see Slade in the background when Oliver is up on the roof talking to Lance, that might be the real one.
Oh,
And the reason I say that, and because I paid real close attention to this, because like I said, when I watched it the first time, I wasn't thinking about this till I got to the end, and then I went, oh man, I wasn't thinking about whether or not Slade in the Arrow Cave had an eye. Well, when I watched it this time, I knew that had to be a hallucination because Slade's got two eyes, unless he's got an eye patch over an eye, but I don't think that's what's going on. So, but what I did notice was when he's up on that roof, they've got one eye in shadow.
oh.
And that means that it might be a hallucination and they're foreshadowing for us, or it's the real one.
I didn't even think about that one. I just assumed it was hallucination till the end, but you might be right. That's really cool.
Either is possible right now. So
Uh,
that's really cool, and I hope they keep that ambiguous because I love stuff like
and
that.
I love
It's
him being kind
I
of the
get to.
mastermind.
Ooh, I like it too, man. And it's all fitting together. I mean, this means that Brother Blood has been using him as his source. Well, I mean, not using him. Obviously,
He's giving
he's
him, but yeah,
Brother.
that's really cool that he's getting it from his blood.
Yeah, he's the source.
Which, by the way, Brother Blood, he's just Scarecrow. I'm
Yes,
okay with that.
I was gonna ask you about that. I thought he was kind of just Scarecrow too. I really like. Hey, let's talk about the kind of big superhero tropes we're getting here that we haven't really had before. One of them is the sadistic choice.
Which is actually carried out, which usually isn't. I mean, Dark Knight did it, but they did it with a twist. Um, but usually, movies and TV shows find a way to get both people saved.
Yeah, and also usually there's kind of a cop out where if one of them ends up dying, the other one will. I mean, like the person who has to make this sadistic choice will probably blame himself, but ultimately he's not really to blame.
Right.
Here, it's more ambiguous than that because he actually chooses.
Yep.
I thought that scene was gripping.
Oh, it was
Uh,
great.
when he act because the first time around I didn't really catch this. That's why I watched these twice now, because I missed the part where he runs in front of one of them.
I missed that the
Yeah,
first time too. Yeah.
yeah. Watching it a second time, he doesn't straight out say, "Okay, shoot her over her," but he runs in front of Sarah so she won't get killed, and then he says, "You've made your choice." Yeah, he did.
And then I
Yeah,
really like that the laying the groundwork of where they lie to Slade and say that because when they get to like a final confrontation, Ivo's gonna say that Oliver protected Sarah instead of Shadow.
yeah, that's right. And I did really appreciate because he just did something that's kind of awful, and I mean, like, you can't blame him. What are you gonna do? I mean, if he had run in front of Shadow, we would have said the same thing.
Right.
Why'd you pick her over her? But I did like that he almost comes out and admits what happened.
Yeah, it's Sarah that covers it up.
Yep. He says, and I also really like the writing there. He says like he's about to say I chose her, or whatever he was gonna say, and then I did this, and then Sarah says Ivo.
Yeah.
I thought the writing there was really good. The other big superhero trope that they play with is the two characters out of costume that have had interaction with each other that are now in costume and having a different kind of interaction with each other. And we've not had that kind of thing in this show very much. We actually got to see Oliver in costume with Brother Blood in costume. I mean, this is straight up comic book stuff now.
Oh yeah. Well, and we also have Sin knows who Oliver is, right?
Does she?
I can't. I'm trying to remember.
I'm
They
not sure.
they have like an exchange that led me to believe that uh
I really don't think she does.
she knew when because she was hanging out with Black Canary, but I might be wrong.
Well, yeah, you know what? I'm fuzzy on that right now. I'm sure it's clear in the earlier episodes and I don't remember. So somebody leave a comment and let us know. I really don't remember that. It seems like some of those scenes would have played a bit differently had we been sure of that.
Maybe you're right. But yeah, no. And we also have Brother Blood is dating Laurel, so that's all gonna play into something.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering if he might die. Because Slade has this line of, somebody else can wear that mask, and I'm wondering if we might actually see that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think it's neat that, and we're not doing this with everybody, but I think it's kind of neat that given that Brother Blood is kind of a B-list minor villain in the comics, as far as I know, he's that here too. Like, we thought he was the big bad, but he's not.
Yeah, there was two things that I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember if we'd found out before or not. One is, did we ever get an inclination that he was working for someone else?
No, not really.
Okay, I couldn't remember if there was a line or something. And the second one
And I think
is, oh, sorry.
No, I know you're okay. I thought the good fake out for that all season has been he's got all these minions
Oh yeah,
and he runs it like a cult. I mean, everybody calls him Brother Blood, and he calls everybody else Brother something else, and
right.
he's at the top, and he acts like everybody's expendable. But now we find he's also expendable. I guess I always got the sense that he might be working with some other organization or something, and I always wondered if there was some kind of correlation between him and the League of Shadows or the League of Assassins. At this point, I think the air quote war is gonna be between them and the League of Assassins.
Yeah, probably.
I think that's what's coming. I think Raza Ghul is gonna want that serum.
Um, the other thing is this the first time we know we find out for sure that he hired the hoods that killed the mayor? Is this a reveal? I can't remember knowing this before
No,
this.
I thought we knew that.
Okay, I wasn't sure, so
But you know you might be right. I guess I just wasn't surprised by that
I wasn't
information.
surprised by it either, but I thought it was the first time we found it out.
Real quick, because I was gonna make this point when I was talking about the mask thing. I also think it's neat, and this might not be deliberate at all, that in the same episode where Oliver, for the first time I can think of, goes up against someone wearing a mask, he gets a mask,
Yeah,
and also it's the first time that we see. I mean, you don't straight up know it yet if you have never read a comic book, but it's also the first time we've seen a straight up superhero origin where where somebody gets superpowers. And so I feel like this is the episode that is just cementing this as straight up comic book now.
I love that because we thought it was just kind of like a nod to the comics, and then it was foreshadowing, and I love that scene.
Yeah, I love it too. I love everything about it. And they really subverted my expectations with that because we've every single episode has brought up the particle accelerator,
Yep.
and we knew it was going to have something to do with that. And so when he says I got to get back to Central City so I can go see the particle accelerator, you figure okay, he's going to get there and something's going to happen. But I, I I love shows like this that can make me feel kind of dumb because they get me with them, and then when they do it a cooler way, I go, well, if you'd done it the way that I thought you were gonna do, and I never would have questioned it, it wouldn't have been as cool and wouldn't have made any sense. If he had actually gotten his powers there, where the particle accelerator is, it'd be hard to finagle that in a way where all those people wouldn't end up with superpowers.
Yeah. Well, and this is a thing that I was bringing up to you when we were talking on the phone is I think not having him come back later as the Flash in episode 20 like was originally intended. I think that's kind of a mistake for everyone that's not a comic book fan, which is, as far as I'm aware, most of the viewing audience. I don't think, first of all, I don't think falling into chemicals with a lightning bolt necessarily says Flash to to standard audiences. So I feel like him never coming back is going to leave people being like, so what happened to that guy? Why didn't that go anywhere?
I agree with you. For the sake of the narrative that we're following, that's going to feel like a loose thread, and this show doesn't have those so
Yeah.
far. Um, yeah, they really. I'm with you. They should have left the episode 20 thing. I get why they're doing it this way. For the sake of that other show, I get why they want a budget, a straight up pilot budget in order to build the suit and all the things that they want. But yeah, I think they're having to kind of compromise a little too much for the sake of the narrative that they have. Having said that, if they straight up do an episode with him that crosses over in season 3, I think we could probably forgive it.
Yeah, probably so. Um,
And
oh,
I'm hoping that'll happen because I know you and I have talked about this. You don't think they're gonna just spin him off into his own
no,
show
I
and then they
assume we're
have
gonna
the
get at
crossover?
least in his first season. I think we'll get a two-parter that starts in Arrow and ends in Flash, or starts in Flash and ends in Arrow.
Yeah, I hope they do something like that. But I'm with you. I totally see why you're saying that. And the thing is, they made this. They totally had this episode in the can before they even made that choice.
Right. Um, let's.
But the thing, but before we jump off of that, I've also gotta say that I really dig that he becomes the Flash because he's late to something.
Yeah, that's
That's
such
so
a Jeff
cool.
Johns thing.
If he hadn't I mean, like it's so simple, but I never would have thought of it. Like if he hadn't been late, if he'd gone to the particle accelerator thing, he never would have become the Flash.
Yeah. I
So super
also
fun.
I think it's funny that we've spent this whole season with all of this like build up to the particle accelerator. We keep seeing these news stories, and then when he gets there, the news is like, "Oh my God, it's exploding!" I kind of feel like there's some karma there with like yeah, the particle accelerator, it's gonna be great. Um,
Well, but keep in mind that they built up to that too because they were talking about how there was a lot of
oh yeah, there was the protests and stuff.
there were protesters. There were a lot of people that weren't sure that this should be happening, and that play like
They were right.
there's a lot of thematic stuff. Yeah, they were right. There's a lot of thematic stuff in this show about like playing God and messing with science that we're not ready for, and human hubris with regards to that kind of thing. And so we're getting that in the present day stuff with the particle accelerator, and also with what Brother Blood is doing, and then in the past with Ivo connected to the stuff that Brother Blood is doing. Yeah, they're thinking. There's a lot of that Frankenstein stuff.
Um,
Speaking of, let's talk about Solomon Grundy, because yay, Solomon
he's
Grundy.
coming.
Talked about, yeah,
He's
he's
got
coming.
stuff on his face, and oh God, that's I shouldn't have put those two sentences together. Um,
But yeah, I was so
we see
excited.
his face start like turning pale, and like he's totally coming back as Solomon Grundy.
I gotta ask you a question though. Why does everyone that gets acid or burned on their face have it on one side of their face?
I don't know. I mean,
Everyone has two
obviously
faces.
that's not going to happen with him, or I mean, presumably not, because Solomon Grundy is all pale. But
No, but it's just weird that we keep seeing that. Like it's on one side of a person's face. We've seen it twice now in the show. I just think that's funny. But yeah, I think we're gonna get straight up Solomon Grundy now.
yeah, and I mean, we even got the poem this time.
Yeah, well, and even if we don't, like, even if they were to keep him dead and not bring him back, which I really doubt they're gonna do, it's a nice, fun nod to all of that. That like because before you wouldn't have, even if you were a DC fan, like a light DC fan, but you didn't know, Gold, you didn't know his name,
I didn't
you
know
never
his
would have
name.
put. You never would have put two and two together. Yeah, Cyrus Go. You never would have put two and two together. In this, if you're a DC fan, you're watching this and going, "Oh, that guy Solomon Grundy, that's fantastic."
Well, and also they kind of tell us he's coming back because Ollie and Diggle say they're like, huh. He was buried on a Saturday, or no, he died on Sunday, buried on a Saturday, or whatever the rhyme is. They kind of imply he's probably going to come back, and I think Ollie even says, "I'm going to look out for that."
No, he doesn't say. He just says he's just being a little bit clever with the rhyme thing. He just says, "Died on Saturday, buried on Sunday," as if it's finality.
Oh, okay.
I read that as finality, and that's why I'm saying that if they don't bring him back, the way they did that was cool.
Oh, they're bringing him back. He got chemicals. You
Oh
don't
no,
just
I'm
get
with
chemicals.
I'm with you. He's coming back, but I wouldn't be horribly disappointed if he didn't because I think the way they did it was cool. But yeah, I just love that we get the rhyme. Although, you know what? Oliver seems really well read.
A little bit.
Because I wouldn't have known that poem if it weren't for DC Comics. And on the island, you got the sense that the only thing he knew was that one book
Yeah. Which he read once and memorized.
and knew all of. Yeah,
Uh,
he has an eidetic memory, that Oliver Queen.
So does Starling City have the worst like chief of police ever? What? I gotta go fight crime. I was supposed to go Christmas shopping.
That's not the chief of
Who is
police.
that? Because who?
That's I think that's uh what's his name? Why can't I think of people's
Lance?
names right now? Yeah, I think that's Lance's old partner.
Oh, okay. Well, Lance was talking to him as if he was his
He's the
superior.
detective. No, he was trying to get him to moonlight and go help him out.
Oh, okay. I thought he was
He
trying.
was trying to get him to come. No, no, no. They were going under the
Okay,
radar.
that's completely different then.
Yeah.
All right. I
And he
thought
was
he
like,
was trying to
would
get
you?
a.
Because the thing is, he couldn't get a team together by himself because he's just an officer. He's not a detective. He needed a detective to pull together a squad.
Okay. Well, still dragging your
That's what
feet
Grundy did.
because dragging your feet on fighting crime. I'm just saying. I don't know. Which I guess we should talk about him. He was amazing after like barely being here for like 3 episodes.
Well, Lance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. No,
Past
he's
past couple
fantastic.
episodes, he was just kind of like there's like, oh hey, this is a crime scene, and like, no, he got like a whole thing this episode, and it was great.
Yeah, I was really impressed with and I have this with a lot of characters in this, the way that we are naturally progressing people. I'm really impressed that we don't just have Lance like a light switch. Okay, now he and Arrow are working together. That's all gone very. We've had a very natural progression for all of that, and now we get to move from their uh, they're kind of working together but on unsure footing to Lance reassuring him that stuff isn't his fault.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. These two people are building a real relationship, and yeah, it is very Batman Gordon, but we get to see all of the pieces of it. We get to see the evolution of that, and you got to really wonder what it's going to be like when he inevitably finds out who Arrow really is. And I wonder if they're going to play that. I guess this is a prediction thing. I wonder if they're going to play that ultimately like the Gordon thing, where he gets to where he knows, but he doesn't want to know.
I I don't know because I feel like they're setting a little bit of stuff up specifically with Oliver, or I mean specifically with Sarah, that I think finding out could create some tension. Because
Oh
remember,
yeah,
he had that line where he said, if anybody ever found out, like, they would hate me.
yeah. They never speak to me again.
So I'm wondering if him finding out could actually be a bad thing, as opposed to with Gordon, it's kind of just a thing. Um, uh, I've got something written down, but I don't know if it's your trivia question, so I'm not sure if I should say it or not.
No, go ahead. It's probably not.
We find out Felicity's Jewish.
Oh yeah, that was I forgot about that. I
Yeah,
like that for Christmas. I'm lighting my menorah.
yeah. I like that. It was a nice little moment.
I liked her a lot in this too.
Really hoping that's not a throwaway line, and they forget that she's Jewish like three seasons down the line.
Yeah, then they bring in her Catholic mother in an episode.
But yeah,
No, it was Dad that was Jewish. It was Dad.
she was really good this episode, but they're basically
Oh.
telling us that Felicity and Oliver are gonna get together at some point, or at least she's gonna try, right?
Yeah, I mean I don't know how long they're gonna stretch this.
I don't like that. We've talked about that. Um, unless it means that she goes over to the Flash show and hangs out there, because I can live with that. They've got good chemistry. I really like them together.
Yeah, I would like to see her go over to Flash and be a regular there. Not that I want to necessarily rip her away from this show, but I do feel like that this show is starting to burst at the seams with characters. I don't think that there are too many that they can't juggle it yet. I would think that with like lesser writing staff. I'm impressed with the way they're juggling it right now, but I mean, they also have that thing where they can't keep people dead.
Yeah, that's starting to become a thing, and I'm worried Shadow's not dead.
Yeah, I'm worried nobody's dead, man. Like, I'm pretty sure Tommy's coming back at this point.
His dad's gonna show up.
Yeah. Oh, no, please don't do that. That would be awful.
Shadow's dad is in the city.
I'm going to take out the eye Slade didn't take out.
Fires is working with Ivo.
Fires. So can we jump to the end real quick before we go to
He
best and
finally has
worst?
a mask.
More notes. Yeah? Are are you as excited about that as I am? Because not only am I glad that they finally went there, but it was actually surprisingly inorganic way to do that.
I love
Like,
that they came up with an explanation for why he didn't go mask immediately.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, because I really kind of expected this to be a sort of a, well, we didn't have any good reason for him not to do it before, but it's a little glaring that he's not, so we'll do it. Nah, I really like that, especially because it comes from Barry Allen, who will immediately just put a mask on.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I thought that was really cool. I really dug it.
I think they came up with pretty sophisticated ways to do nods to
I'm
what
wondering how
Barry
much
Allen.
of that was planned and how much of it was, well, we don't want to immediately be perceived as a superhero show. Or if they thought all along, like they were like, okay, well, we're going to do this realistic show. Realistically, masks would cover your eye vision, so, let's do this.
I don't want to give him that much credit from the beginning. I think it was all, we don't want this to be too comic book of a show, and then as they've moved on, they've just gotten more comfortable
It's
in the
so
skin of what
comic
they
booky
are.
now. It's
Yeah,
great.
it is. But what's great about it is, I think this was unintentional, but I think it worked. I think that transition between a perceived a more perceived grounded kind of show that anybody could sit down and watch into a comic book thing, I think they're taking everybody with them. Those of us that were hoping that it would get like this are getting what we wanted, and the folks that were wanting to be able to watch this despite it being a comic book show, I don't think they're losing out either.
Right. Well, and it's been such a natural progression.
Yeah, they might not even notice that stuff. I think it's fantastic. I really liked that the mask is elastic, that it's got a band across the back, and that it's not spirit gum.
Yeah, yeah, that was cool. Actually, before we move on to the other stuff, there's something that we haven't talked about, and it's tied into a rant I have that's not dealing with the show.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Roy gets doped up with the super soldier serum, um, and on Wednesday, before the episode even aired, CBR posted up an interview with the actor that plays Roy, and they had pictures of that. I knew that was coming, and it really, really bothered me that they would. It wasn't like it was Thursday because I usually watch the episode on Thursday. If they put it up day after, my bad. But it was the day of, before the episode even came out. They put up these pictures, and it wasn't like here's some pictures from the set. It was just an interview.
Yeah, so anybody who read that article that day would have known that before they saw the show.
Yeah, that really bugs me. I hate it when they do stuff like that. I would have liked to have been surprised by that.
Yeah, yeah, and I was surprised. Maybe that's part of the reason that I'm liking the Roy stuff more than you, because that hit me. I was like, are they gonna make Roy a super soldier?
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see where all of the
Because
Roy
we
stuff goes. I
because
feel like
I
he's
think
just
we've
kind of
gone.
started running in place a little bit. I don't know.
Well, correct me if I. Well, I feel like this is their way of making him go farther, and also like he's moving out on his own a little bit. It was like, well, I'm working with the Hood. I'm trying to help him out. Now he's not going to work with me. I've got to carve my own way out. I'm telling you, I think you're going to look back on this and you're going to say, nah, they had a direction in mind. Um, with regards to the super soldier thing, tell me if I'm missing something. There is really no difference between what happened to him and what happened to Slade, right? If you survive this, you get superpowers.
Yeah,
Okay, well, clearly that's where they're going with it then.
yeah. I guess I guess
He's
we'll
going to
see.
be a straight up super. He's going to be a straight up superpower, and the kid is on the street trying to stop crimes. So that means significantly that gives us a good guy with superpowers in our grounded. We didn't used to do that show.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been building that stuff all season, so.
Yeah, but I didn't think that any of our main characters were going to get super strength.
Although I will say that the Flash thing is probably the most comic booky thing we've had yet, and it's great.
Oh yeah, and a lot of that is because they're probably going to go full tilt with that show, so we may never see anything quite that comic book again. I mean, I guess when we say comic book, I just mean traditional superhero with powers kind of thing.
Especially like that kind of out there super sciency.
Yeah, with the flash of the like red energy through his face.
Yeah, yeah, that was cool. And gold lightning hit him. I thought that was cool.
Oh, good, yeah, good call.
Um,
Uh, can we go to best moment, worst moment?
yeah, I have two best moments.
Yeah, this was impossible to pick. There's too much cool in this show. What did you write down?
My first best moment is the Slade reveal. I thought that was just a fantastic scene. And he plays it so good, and I'm so excited to see him be the bad guy.
Now, are you okay with the motivations? I mean, because we had early on in the season, we were talking a lot about how we were hoping that he wasn't puppy dog for Shadow. Like, are we okay with this as his motivation?
I don't think that's entirely his motivation because he
I
talks.
don't think it's all of it, but I think it is a lot of it.
I think stabbing him in the eye and leaving him for dead is probably a lot of it too.
Yeah, but we don't know what the relationship was at that time either. Like, they might not have really
Well,
been
the
friends.
thing that I loved was he
They could have
says,
been big enemies on the island at that
well,
point.
but the thing is, what I really love about that speech is when Blood says, "You know who he is, don't you?" He goes, "Yes, he's
Yeah,
my
he's my
friend."
friend. Right.
I really dug that. And then my second best part is Lance reacting to finding out that all of his team is dead. Which is no words, just him kind of on cue, starting crying, and it was really really good, and I thought it was really touching.
Yeah. I don't know. I know you said he was Dresden. That guy needs his own TV show again. Yeah, he's fantastic. And there was a time where I thought he was too good for this show. I think everybody's kind of up to that caliber
Oh
now.
yeah,
But
but that scene with him in the hospital bed, I thought was just astounding. Just acting wise, I thought he was really good.
so I said my favorite moment was Barry getting his powers because they totally got me with that.
Oh, if I had a third best part, it would be that scene.
They really got me with that. And then the Slade reveal was definitely my second favorite. Did you have a worst
I don't
moment?
have a worse
There's
moment.
not much bad in this show. I wanted to take a pot shot at Laurel.
Yeah, I did too.
I couldn't even do it here. Um, she doesn't do anything amazing, but she doesn't do anything
Worst
obnoxious
part,
either.
Laurel's
So
still not gone. I don't know. I don't have a worst part at
yeah,
all.
I mean, I thought they caked a little too much makeup on her, but other than
I
that,
really wish there was like one like little thing where I could be like, really? That's the painting you used for your outside, like in Daredevil. Like I kind of wish there was like something that I could. No, I don't have a worst anything. So,
um, big idea is pretty self-explanatory with this one. It's survivor's guilt.
but it's also I think what's important to note is we had a couple of episodes right in a row that had very similar themes. This episode does have its own theme.
Yeah.
Very distinctly kind of disconnected from the general themes we've been playing with.
And still furthers those as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
With the stuff with like learning from the past and not making the same mistakes and all of that. And actually, I think that it brings Oliver to and getting his mask. I think that this is actually the culmination of the big thematic stuff we've been doing from the first episode of the season, right? Oliver wanting to move from vigilante to superhero, and with that Tommy speech, he finally gets to do that.
Yeah, I'm really interested. Well, and what I thought was really interesting was when Lance tells him to go kill that guy.
Yeah.
Um, I'm wondering if we're going to see some kind of disagreement between the two of them ethically at some point, where
Oh,
where
that's
he
really interesting.
says,
Where it
"I
flips
won't kill that guy." Yeah,
because Lance. Well, and I mean, I kind of doubt they'll go that far because the way it played, I thought was Lance kind of just giving him permission, not so much saying you have to kill this guy.
right.
But yeah, you make a really good point that like it flips. Lance could go to a really dark place after this.
Yeah, he could kind of start treating Oliver as like his personal hitman.
Oh man, that's really interesting. I didn't think this show from the beginning was capable of some of this.
Oh, I know, it's so good.
Well, we didn't have any new guest stars that I noticed, so let's skip over to favorite line. Did you have one?
Yeah, your mother shot you?
I wrote that one down too. And I had forgotten about that too. That's why I laughed at it because It's fun to see kind of a. And I mean, I almost call Barry the straight man. He's kind of making all the cracks in this, but I mean, it's kind of fun to see somebody on the outside come in and show you like everything for what it really is. Like these people's lives are not normal. It's like, wait, your mom shot you? And then Diggle kind of keeps going, and then there's the crazy time where this thing happened. Like, that's just the day in the life of us wacky
Wait till
superheroes.
you get superpowers.
Yeah, you just wait. You're gonna come back here in 22 episodes and be like, you guys would not believe the crap I've seen.
You're gonna find out that the guy that killed your mom is from the future and is just testing you.
Yeah, Oliver, you might have thought that the whole Clock King thing was weird, but I had a dude that threw boomerangs at me. I hope to hell that happens.
There's a guy called the Trickster.
um, the other thing I wrote
Will it
down
be
because
too
sometimes I like
hard for the Treatster?
I like to do a comedic one and a dramatic one when I can. The other one I wrote down was the Slade line where he says, "I'll drive an arrow through his eye." I really liked that he said "eye" and not "heart."
I have to say, of his whole speech, him saying he's my friend is what really resonated with me.
Oh
There's
yeah,
a
sure.
really interesting, complex emotional relationship between the two of them, and I can't wait till they meet in the city.
What I want to know
I'm
is
also
how
hoping
far.
he's still wearing he wears his mask when he goes out.
What I want to, yeah, I would imagine he does, given the fact that we've got Black Canary in full costume.
Yeah.
I I want to know just how far ahead they have things planned if the writers, much less the actor playing Slade, know what exactly happened between him and Oliver. Because boy, he sure plays that scene as if he knows what's going on. I mean, like when he says
I think we're
when he
gonna
says
find out by
that
the end of the
line.
season, which makes me think they do have it planned out.
Yeah, but I wonder if they've told him because the way he says he's my friend, like the way he says the word friend, it was like there's so much nuance in just the delivery of that word.
Yeah, that's the line of his that resonated with me. So,
Yeah, I mean, if you wondered why they hired that actor,
oh,
look
he's
no
so
further than
good.
that scene. Yeah, wow. I'm gonna have a hard time like reading Deathstroke in a comic book and not hearing that guy's voice in my head. Like
Yeah.
he's really right for that part. So let's go to comic book references. Obviously, we talked about Solomon Grundy. We've got that. Big Belly Burger was mentioned again. That was mentioned a couple times in the first season, but it's been a while.
There's a really subtle scene that I don't know if you caught where Barry Allen becomes the Flash.
Wait, is that what was going on in that scene? I thought it was just a dude who gets struck by lightning. I was like, why would you kill that guy? He was
It's a
cool.
blink and you miss it moment, but I'm pretty sure that's him getting his superpowers.
The only other one, and I can't take credit for noticing this. I had to look this up, but the girl who's on the TV at the end talking about the particle accelerator is Linda Park,
The
who is
one
Wally West's
yelling, running
wife.
around saying it's exploding.
Yes, that's Wally West's wife
Oh, cool.
and Barry Allen's nephew, pre 52.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of an odd thing. I doubt they'll do anything with that, but
Or if they
especially
do,
that
they'll
she's older than
recast
she
her.
should be. Yeah. Well, but also I kind of doubt we're gonna get Wally West in that show.
I wouldn't be surprised if we got like a sidekick, Wally West.
Well, maybe.
Although there's no Wally West New 52, and they don't like to do
That,
stuff that's not New 52, so maybe
yeah,
not.
that's all I'm saying. Well, hey, we're coming up on an hour. Did you have any other predictions that we didn't talk about? Because I feel like we kind of in depth.
Uh, no. I'm really interested to see how long it is before Ollie finds out that Slade's in the city,
Me
and I'm
too.
interested to know how long he's been in the city.
It has to have been at least since the earthquake machine.
Right, but I'm wondering if he was there in season one,
Yeah.
or if he just showed up after, because clearly he's been there as long as Blood has been there, or presumably he's been there as long as Blood's been there.
Well,
So,
we don't know how long Blood's been an alderman though.
and Blood, we didn't talk about this. I mean, it's a minor thing, but it could become big. He is officially running for mayor now.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure that's going to be a huge thing.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm not. I don't really have much else.
I think what he should probably do, Eric, is to make sure that nobody finds out that he's a supervillain is while he's running for mayor, not bite off anybody's nose.
Also, maybe not have the last name Blood.
Oh, there's also that. Okay, let's go on to trivia questions. What was your trivia question from last
All
time,
right.
and what is the answer?
Last time, my question was Oliver's bow was owned by a famous person. Who is it? Everyone guessed Errol Flynn. It's not Errol Flynn. It is Howard Hill, who did all of the trick shots in the Errol Flynn Robin Hood. I almost said Oliver. The Errol Flynn Robin Hood, and pretty much every other movie until he died. Uh, there's a biography on Howard Hill. He was an astounding shot. He used to, in the old movies when people get shot by arrows,
Yeah.
um, there's pieces of woods there, like where he's going to shoot. There's a piece of wood underneath their costume, and he was so he could hit that wood hard enough to make it stick, enough that it wouldn't pierce through and hit the person. That's how they shot those movies back in the day. And in one incarnation of his origin, Oliver was trained by Howard Hill in year one. He just buys the Howard Hill bow, but that is what Oliver's bow is. My trivia question for this week is Green Arrow was inspired by a film which is based on the book. What's it called?
Eric, you're kind of cutting in and out on us. Give us that question one more time.
Okay. Green Arrow is inspired by a film serial which is based on the book. What is it called? Both the book and the serial have the same name.
Okay, my question from last time was what color was the substance Oliver got accidentally injected with?
Wait, before you give
And
the answer, I want to tell you
yes,
how much I loved looking at the comments because it was like blue, red, orange, green.
yeah, they thought that he got injected by Skittles. So the answer was orange.
Hey, I know at least somebody got it right.
Yeah, somebody got that right. Well, when people were answering yours and they said Errol Flynn, I just assumed that was the answer. Like, and you told me it was easy, so I was like, oh, of course it must be Errol Flynn. And then when you told me it wasn't, I was like, oh man.
I thought everybody knew that. I mean, it's in Longbow Hunters. It's in year one.
You assume people know things about Green Arrow.
You read Longbow Hunters.
Well, yeah, I did, but that wasn't like the big point of the book or anything. I
No.
didn't that detail. My question for this week is from the episode, but also something that you could just know and is also certainly comic book. In the Solomon Grundy rhyme, what happens to Grundy on Tuesday?
Oh, I know that one.
Ooh, cool. I asked when you knew. You,
I
you were either paying attention or you just
I
knew it.
don't know Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, but I know Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Well, hey everybody! Thanks as always for listening to Arrow Discussions. It's going to be a little while before we get back with you. We got to wait for the new episodes, and I got to tell you, I can't wait because
Oh no, I
this
can't wait either. When is
this
the
has
next
been so
episode?
good. And I feel like we've gotten an entire season's worth of material in half a season.
Oh yeah, this half of the season has just been packed.
You don't see TV this dense most of the time. It's fantastic. It's the exact opposite of Shield, really.
Oh yeah. Well, and I mean, I would say it's kind of the opposite of the first half of season one.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I mean that's an unfair comparison because this thing has had some time to build and get its legs together and stuff. I'm just saying that like, that's the two shows we do, so it's hard for me not to compare them. And I'm just like, wow, watch one show where it's pretty drawn out, and this is just like every episode they go about 3 episodes farther than I thought they would.
Well, and it's funny because, I've been telling my friends to start watching this, and I kind of catch myself being like, well, season one's not that good. When you get to season two, everything starts moving.
Well, and what I want to say to people is what I was saying last year, which is once you get past the mid-season finale in the first season, it really picks up, which is true. But God, compared to this, it's molasses.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the thing is that you kind of the one thing you have to do is like everything up until the year end, the break, is really hit or miss with probably more misses than you want. When they come back from break, they really start ironing it out and it starts getting good. and then season 2 they figure everything out. I'm not even afraid of the writers of the show writing episodes anymore. So
Yeah, I know. It's funny. You can't really complain about that anymore. That used to be the running gag. It was like, oh no, the folks that came up with it are writing. Look out.
yeah, but
Well, sorry, what did you say?
I was gonna say, but they've totally fixed that, or they haven't written any episodes. I'm not sure which.
I think they have written some, but I don't pay attention to it anymore
They
because
wrote they wrote the pilot, and Mark Guggenheim wrote the doll maker one. Um, Other than that, they've plotted a couple, but they haven't actually written them. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this because this was also a moment I really liked. I loved Barry geeking out about Oliver's supervillains.
yeah, I did too.
I wanted to put that in there before we went. Otherwise, I have nothing else to say.
Well, there was one he mentioned where I was like, I don't even remember that guy. Who was that
Oh,
guy?
Dodger. He was the guy that kidnapped Roy.
Oh, the other kidnapping that we thought didn't work very well, but then this
Yeah,
one
because
did.
because
Okay,
I
okay.
thought the episode was going to be about Roy with the Artful Dodger, like as like a thing, and it was just a guy that like kidnapped him, and it wasn't. I think that's who Dodger was. I'm wrong.
No, I think it was too. But well, anyway. So Eric and I are going to try to bring you at least a couple of Netflix roulettes in the interim. And until then, we'll see you later. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.